All right, everyone, welcome to Strictly Sports. I'm Jacob Brown, joined here with Stephen Cashin. We're doing our 2020 Seattle Mariners season preview. This is our first pod for the AL West. We're finally into the DH world. No more pitchers in the lineup over here in the AL. So we're going to do it how we always do it. We're going to go over their additions and subtractions, go over their lineup, bench, starting rotation, bullpen, and prospects. And I got to say, there's not much to hype up here for the Seattle Mariners, but we like going over every team, and that's what we're trying to do here. So the Seattle Mariners were 68 and 94 last season. Who did they add? They added starting pitcher Taijuan Walker, free agent from the Diamondbacks. He was actually with the Mariners a few years ago, one of their top prospects, and then they traded him to Arizona with Ketel Marte. Just tells you how Seattle runs their teams. They traded away those guys. Then they got Yoshihiro Hiriano as well from the Arizona Diamondbacks, nice reliever, and then a bunch of guys on minor league contracts. Kendall Graveman, Nestor Cortez Jr. could potentially be reliable starting pitchers, but you don't really know. They added Carlos Gonzalez Cargo on a minor league deal. Wow, I mean, getting a minor league deal at this point in your career based on where he was in the past, it's pretty crazy. And then who did they lose? They lost longtime starting pitcher, the King Felix Hernandez, to the Atlanta Braves. Omar Narvaez, all-star or potentially an all-star catcher, traded him over to the Brewers. Wade LeBlanc is gone. Tim Beckham gone. Domingo Santana is gone. So this is a team that's filtering in and out players. And now let's look at their lineup here, and it's not one of the best. Leading off and playing second base, Shed Long had 5 homers and 15 RBIs in 42 games, a 333 WOBA, so he's just above average. Then J.P. Crawford, 7 homers, 46 RBIs in 93 games, a 296 WOBA, not very good. Kyle Seager, 332 WOBA, 110 weighted run created plus with 23 bombs in 106 games. Tom Murphy, some kind of good numbers there. Young catcher, 76 games, 355 WOBA, 18 homers in 76 games. Then you go to Dan Vogelbach. You said before we started this, Steven, kind of all or nothing. 30 homers, 76 RBIs in 144 games. Then you go to Kyle Lewis, young prospect. Evan White, young prospect. He's number 56 ranked in Major League Baseball. Then Jake Fraley, the center fielder, young prospect, has bounced around between Tampa and Seattle in the minors. And then Malik Smith, the number 9 hitter. So when you look at this lineup, Steven, there's really not much to hype up here. They don't really have, a great 2-hitter or a leadoff hitter. It's just kind of a jumble of nothing. I mean, what do you think about the Seattle Mariners lineup?
I said, before we got on, it's going to be one giant experiment for them. It's going to be how you're going to find guys that are going to, give you consistency throughout your next 3 or 4 years. Who are guys going to be our key points, growing and moving forward? You made a ton of additions to kind of piece the lineup together. I look at guys like Jake Fraley. He was in the minor league system, like you said, with Tampa, and now he's with Seattle. Evan White, number 56 MLB prospect. So you got guys that you're starting their major league clock, seeing what they can, mix into the groove there. And it's just really going to be, like I said, it's a one giant experiment for them, and just to see where they can go. Not a whole lot of run production you got there. Daniel Vogelbach, he great power hitter, 30 home runs, but to only produce 76, runs batted in, it's not there for him. And then you go down to the pitching, it's just that's a jumbled mess in itself. So it's just going to be, pieced together. They're a bottom 5 team. That's just the way it is for them. They got rid of a whole lot. You lost Felix Hernandez in the offseason. So it's just going to be a struggle all year, but they'll figure it out and try to piece it together.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they're definitely a bottom 5 team. I mean, they might be the worst because you look at Miami, at least they have some young starting pitching to talk about. You look at Pittsburgh, you have Josh Bell. Colorado is Arenado. The Mariners, they've got really nothing to boast about. They have some sort of minor league system to look forward to, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But this lineup is just really not that great. I mean, yes, you could look at the WOBAs and weighted run created plus and say, yeah, they do have some guys that are, average players in that regard, but you just can't win without any even above average player. Their only above average player listed is Tom Murphy, a catcher. He only played 76 games. So I just look at this lineup. You need a lot of these young players, like you said, to come pan out. The keys, Kyle Lewis, Evan White, and Jake Fraley, those 3 guys at the bottom of the order are really going to have to show that they can be guys in this lineup in the future. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're a Rays fan, obviously. Do you know much about Jake Fraley? Because he looked to be a pretty top prospect.
Not a whole lot. Not. I mean, we shuffle guys in and out every year. It seems like, so it's hard to get a grasp on who you have. Only guy I'm really familiar with in our system was Brandon McKay and Wander Franco, who's the number one prospect in baseball right now.
Right. Yeah.
But for Fraley, I mean, he had great numbers in A ball, double A ball. He was consistent. He batted he had a 432 WOBA in 61 games at double A level, and his weighted runs plus was there. So, it's a guy that's major league ready that can go and step in and produce. But the Seattle team, it's like you can look at these advanced stats, like you said, and you can look at every team and be like, hey, they're going to be great. They can do this and that. We can produce and score and win ball games, but it's just not there for them. You got too many young guys that don't know the ropes of the game, guys that haven't played even half a season in the major league. So it's going to be a struggle for them to really get accustomed to the major league game and try to, string wins together night in and night out. And I just don't see that happening for them. But, I like where they have Lewis, White, and Fraley lined up in the order. Put them at the bottom of the lineup. You're not giving them too many at-bats a night. You're kind of slowly building them up into that starting role, and which I like. And that's where you have to start them out and kind of mix them into that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they're like you said before. I mean, they're just cobbling stuff together right now. Just bunch those hitters at the bottom, let them learn together, back to back to back in that lineup. And I just look at Kyle Seager here as really the only guy in this lineup to me that can even be traded for anything of value. His contract's up soon. He's still, 106 games, 23 home runs. He's not the best player. WOBAs are just slightly above average. He used to be better. But if there's a team come mid-season, they need a left-handed bat with some pop, Kyle Seager might be your guy.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a guy he's not necessarily starting every night, but he could be a key depth role player, be on the bench, a guy you can pinch hit or, throw out there when there's guys late in the game, 6, 7, 8 innings, use a left-handed bat, guy comes in, lefty-righty matchup, throw him in there. It's a good depth role to have on your team, especially when you're making a postseason run. We've seen it time in and time out where teams will go in and get guys like that, and they're just guys you can throw in any given time, and it's a great thing to have. And if he produces the same numbers, yeah, he can be trade bait come mid-season, and you get something in return for him, potentially younger prospects, and build this lineup like you're doing now, and just kind of building for the future.
Yeah, and the one thing that they need to build for the future is pitchers, because you look at their minor league system, they have some pitchers, but they're kind of far away. You look at the major league level, it's a real struggle. One thing I don't understand, why did they sign, and we'll move to the rotation now, why did they sign starting pitcher Marco Gonzalez to a 4-year extension if you know you're going to be in last place? I mean, they have to know that they're going to be in last place for the next 5 to 6 years with Oakland, Seattle, Texas Angels. They're just overmatched, and their minor league players are far away. Why are you devoting money to Marco Gonzalez when you're going to be in last place every year? You could have traded a guy like that, a guy 203 innings and 34 starts. You could have taken advantage of what he did last year. Why are they not trading this guy, Steven?
Yeah, I don't understand the whole, extension, because you're not going to be able to compete. That's the bottom line. And, you have a dose of reality for this team, because you look at the next best team in front of them. You got the Angels, and you have the Rangers, who, weren't playoff contenders last year, but they have enough talent where they can bounce back. This team is a long way away. So to sign Gonzalez to this contract extension, to me, it's insane, because you're bottom of why are you saving a guy where you can potentially ship him off somewhere and get a ton of assets in return, build your roster with what you have now. And I keep harping that. And why are you devoting that money to a guy where you have one piece to that starting rotation? That's Marco Gonzalez. That's it. Other than that, you go 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're just flipping a coin and hoping something good happens. So to me, that's a kind of, you scratch your head looking, well, why did you do that? But maybe there's a reasoning behind the signing, just to kind of keep a veteran guy on there, try to show the young guys the way. But that'd be my only my guess there to why you keep him on board.
Yeah, maybe they're just thinking we need one pitcher that can go 5 innings, because I mean, Yusei Kikuchi, not the best year. Justice Sheffield, used to be in the Yankees minor league system, and
Yeah.
what a Brian Cashman fleeced the Mariners with that James Paxton trade for
Oh yeah.
Sheffield. Not even close. That's been a total flop for the Mariners. Then Kendall Graveman hasn't pitched in 2 years as their four starter, and Taijuan Walker hasn't pitched in 2 years as their five starter. So I mean, this rotation is just really terrible. Maybe that's why they signed Marco Gonzalez. They're like, we need someone to throw innings.
Yeah, because you can't really like. I look at this rotation, and it's probably, I think, hands down the worst rotation we've seen. I
Yeah.
mean, you look at the talent there, and it's a minor league farm system. It's a AAA team getting thrown out there to get experience, and you need one guy out there that can maybe salvage, a weekend series and get you a win potentially. But you look at uh, Kikuchi. I mean, 32 games starting with a 5.4, basically a 5.5 ERA, and his FIP is a 5.7. Strikeouts per nine is only a 6.4. His balls based on balls per nine is like almost a 3. So you look at it, and the guys there are not elite, not below average, to be put in perspective. And Walker hasn't pitched since 17. So you're really banking off guys that really are struggling a whole lot. They need some help big time. And if you're the Seattle Mariners GM, you got to go out there and maybe find guys in your minor league system that are ready to go. That if these guys are struggling, you petition back in, and you really got to just kind of keep the cycle moving.
100%. And, I look at this too. I mean, now we'll move on to their prospects and talk about what's coming because, that's really the only thing you can look forward to if you're a Mariners fan right now. They haven't made the playoffs in 18 years, longest drought, I think, in professional sports, over the Cleveland Browns, who haven't made the playoffs in 16 years. It's been torturous for this fan base. Luckily, they have the Seahawks, and they've had some winning over in that city, and they're getting a hockey team
Yep.
soon. But baseball just hasn't been the thing for them. But you look at the prospects. Number 18 MLB prospect, outfielder Julio Rodriguez in Single A. He's 19 years old, a right-handed hitter, 315, 5 homers, 36 ribbies in 56 games with a 404 on base. Pretty impressive for a 19-year-old. Then right-handed pitcher Logan Gilbert, number 38, MLB prospect, a right-handed pitcher, 22 years old, a 2.13 ERA in 135 innings. And then the number 100 prospect, George Kirby, 22 years old, 2.35 ERA in 23 innings. And I'll explain this real quick. My dad and I created this little system here for the minor leagues to rank minor league systems. Basically, we're calling it the guess system. And right now, we have the Mariners ranked, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, sixth in baseball with their minor league system. And the way that we rank that, we have this PRP, the prospect rating points. Basically, if you're a top 5 prospects, you get 50 points. Top 10 prospects, you get 40 points. Top 11 through 19, you get 30, and then so on and so forth. And the Mariners are in 6th place. Also, another thing we rank it with, the TPRP, is total prospect rating points. So right now, the Mariners in that, the APR is 45, TPRP is 95. So that's 6th in baseball. So as we continue to look at them, they also have Jared Kelenic, who actually I forgot to list. That's my bad. Number 11 prospect in Major League Baseball. He's an outfielder in Double-A. So when you look at this Mariners farm system, they actually do have a really good top 6 farm system, but these guys are far away, Single A, Double-A. That's basically what they're looking at right now.
Yeah, their closest guy that could be potentially ready is Logan Gilbert, Double-A. Double-A is usually the cusp of, if you have good numbers there, you can get the call, and you don't have to go straight. You don't have to go through Triple-A to get to the big leagues. But you're still a long way away for guys like Julio Rodriguez, George Kirby, only the guys that are in A ball, young guys still developing their game. So, but you have help that's coming, and that's a good thing if you're a Mariners fan. You're not left in the dust, and you're not, there's a light at the end of the tunnel if there's any silver lining for this team. Right now, you're gonna go through some suffering. Kind of like the Astros did for a while there with 100 lost seasons. It's going to be brutal, but you have help coming. You trade some of your guys, like we talked about Seager, get some major league guys that are ready, potentially get them in a return. So you can do some things to help this team out. They're very young. good things will come for this team if they're patient. It's going to be brutal. Baseball is such a when you're bad, those seasons drag on. It's hard to watch, but they're 3 or 4 years away from getting these guys ready, and it's a long way away. But they're in the right hands with those guys.
Yeah, and you just look at this team. It's they're going to be sitting in last place for the next number of years. We've talked about their prospects and everything like that. Their rotation just isn't up to par. Lineup isn't up to par, and it's just sad. You just think about this team. Where did they go wrong though? Because you look at 2014, 15ish. You had Robinson Cano. You had Nelson Cruz. You had Kyle Seager at peak performance. You had other players. Mitch Haniger, by the way, Mitch Haniger, we forgot to mention, is injured. He's actually a really good hitter when healthy. So if he's added to this lineup, it's actually a really good piece. But, those Mariner teams, they were playoff potential teams, and they never ended up making it. They just went wrong in a lot of ways. It's just a lot of bad luck because they really did build those teams well. They always had nice bullpens. They had star players. It's just amazing that they never made the playoffs to me. But this team's a long way away from making it for sure. And I think that'll do it for this pod about the Seattle Mariners. And for this edition of Strictly Sports, I am Jacob Brown, and we will see you next time.